Okay, so I wanted to be documenting a little bit. I am the day before. I'm going to do combo tomorrow morning. I did a salt room meditation today for the first time ever after a chiropractic adjustment, and I started rape twice a day about I don't know, a week ago, and I also had some very, very, very powerful mushrooms in the form of a chocolate candy bar. The chocolate wasn't even that good, and the trip was horrible, but not because of the mushroom itself or the psilocybin. It wasn't that. It was just the nature of what was processing through that. I decided to use the mushroom stuff before the ayahuasca this weekend because I felt like there's stuff that I want to clear before I get to the ayahuasca. I don't want to waste any of this precious resource. So, in my mind, and my team and I came up with, hey, the rape takes me to a place of being able to be very relaxed and, chill with things. The mushroom candy bar took me to some rage points and some how fucking dare you points. What, all kinds of stuff. It was very deep, soulful, crying and feeling like I was being split in two, that my heart was just being pulverized, and ripped out and ripped apart. And it was intense. I mean, intense weeping, wailing, gnashing of teeth. And yet I was able to remain quite stable with it in terms of observing what was going on as well as being fully 100% in the moment. I mean, there wasn't any way I was going to get to observer and casually distance from it. There was no fucking way. I was in the throes of it. However, gaining the ability to have clarity of, yeah, this sucks ass, it hurts, is so, just gut wrenching and mind bending and soul crushing. I don't think I can, I don't want to do this anymore. I changed my mind. And yet also knowing to be able to coach myself through that this is a necessary pain that has to be purged, relancing the boil. There's no sense in, taking care of the zit on your face if there's a giant ass, septic producing boil on your leg. Let's deal with the major issue. And just crying on the surface about things that have been really problematic for me. I had no idea. I thought I had reached some gut wrenching places already, and oh no, we're going to go even deeper. We're back, 16 lifetimes or whatever the fuck that is. I mean, it was deep. It really, truly felt like it was just ripping my heart out, having to do with experiences for me as my own child and for me and the estrangement from my own children and how that happened and why it happened and all of the factors leading up to that, all of the leading contribution that I made, as well as all the contribution other people made in seeing that it did happen, and that it would continue. And not understanding all the dynamics, of course, because I'm not there and I'm intuitive as fuck. However, I don't know. I'm not given every step of what everybody else is doing, only how I can process how I feel about what other people are doing. I'm not given the what they're doing. I'm just given the, oh, that's funky shit coming my way. And it's related to, this feeling and this experience more than likely. However, it's definitely related to this feeling that's coming, bombarding me. And if it's not mine, and yet it's activating in me a very, wild or weird response, then, it doesn't matter what the activity is or was. It only matters how to neutralize that, to alchemize it, transform it, and move on and deal with it. And so, having to own the fact that I did allow a lot of things to happen. I caused a lot of things and I let a lot of shit slide that I didn't know that that's some shit that's toxic shit. You're not going to want that to slide. It's getting into the drinking water, and it's contaminating every aspect of your whole entire life. I didn't realize all of that. And it doesn't matter because in the midst of it, feel the pain and lean right into it. Who the fuck leans into ow? Well, I did that night because I was just very clear that you're not going to outrun this. You have eaten this chocolate and we're here, and it's not going to wear off anytime soon. So you can wail and rage and, whatever. However, you're still going to end up on the floor weeping and crying and wishing that it was this and that, or wishing it wasn't this or that, or whatever you need to do. You're going to flop around, and the more you lean into it and just allow that to be what it is and allow it to express itself, that's the nature of me personally, why you would go into it, Kate, to ask for a psychedelic experience or ask for some alternate universe type of experience, isn't to just have the fun of the not right now, that's not ever been my intent whenever I'm using psychedelics. I don't use them often, however, I don't go into those willy-nilly, because I have work to do before I can get to the willy-nilly woohoo. I have other shit I need to do for as long as I have pain in my body, or pain in my soul, or pain in my heart, or pain in my emotions. As long as there's pain body, then there's shit to do. And if you want to do recreational stuff, do that out here in 3D. Don't be mind bending, because if I were to have had that experience, that kind of intense experience with a psychedelic a year ago or 5 years ago, that shit would have broken my mind. I would be in a locked facility probably long term, because it was absolutely mind blowing just how deep that cut, all of it. Things that happened to me, things that I did, things that other people did, like, as I said, the separation from my children, and, the raw and the dirty of, those are intense emotions, and a lot of hatred, that, I didn't always understand, what is this? And they're very deep, deep karmic patterns that, as a generational curse breaker, pattern breaker, or myth buster, bullshit buster, Blu-ray, I'm here. The indigos are here, doing their job, and part of what my job is to break apart dumbass systems like that. And so you don't really think that you're going to be able to break the system without being within the system, do you? How could you ride above the system and change it? That's an inside job, And first off, we got to come inside you and break all the bullshit systems inside you, which means every sense of ego identity, every sense of everything I ever thought I was, everything that anybody ever said I was, good or bad, mostly bad, because, that's just what people like to do. Any identification of me that I labeled myself that was false, that I knew was false, but I went with anyway because it fed my ego perfectly. Thanks, I'll just go with that because that seems better, it sounds better, presents out here better, trying to fit in, or trying to be a rebel with a cause that was stupid, all kinds of things. And so a lot of opportunity to feel the shame and the, horror of guilt, and, all these things of twisted ways that I have, pushed myself and pulled myself and wrung myself and, done loop-de-loops around myself, doing dumb shit, trying to, adjust to the environment, being MacGyver in the wrong fucking direction, like you're MacGyvering your identity. And yeah, that's not where the MacGyvering needs to happen. The MacGyvering needs to happen with how you're going to deal with your spiritual change and your spiritual growth, and adapting that inside to, deal with that monkey mind that's going off the chain. It's not to, keep playing with the monkey that's going off the chain and readapt to, miss me with some shit on that, please. The monkey never misses. I mean, it will land eventually. Even if I think, I'm going to dip out, duck out, and like, I'm not going to feel bad about myself today. Yeah, eventually I would. It never misses. As soon as something lands, it lands, and whatever it was that landed, that's the shit that you need to work with, Kate, And so it wasn't a matter of just saying, well, I don't, have any guilt or shame about that particular topic. Yeah, well, most of the time I don't. However, if anything in a thematic scenario, if anything in that theme brings me to my knees, or even makes me hiccup or go, there's work to do. If it brings me to my knees, there's more work to do. Lots of it. If it's just that's a momentary, suggesting that we fall down into the well. No, thanks. I'll skip it and keep on going. Well, I found out how many deep themes there were still about some very specific topics, that really shook me. Shook me, and I just kept saying, I release and let go of my identity, I release and let go of my identity, I release and let go of my ego, and surrender to God below. And even that, they're like, okay, how about just go with that? The understanding is, of course, that, and affirmations are beautiful. However, don't lock down anywhere, Kate, and get too comfortable with I'm just gonna affirm my way out of this. That's just as good as I'll tithe my way into prosperity, or I'll do this to get forgiveness, or I'll bring flowers over because I told this person to fuck themselves, and hopefully they won't be too mad. You're not going to bargain your way out of this. You're going to fight your way, scrap your way, love your way, puke your way, do whatever it is that's the honest way. That there is no fast track, there's no back door, and there's no quick answer. It is that this is what it is. These experiences are what they are. They feel the way that they feel, and they have to be dealt with head on, not in any sideways action, not in anything that tries to shorten it or make it better, by soothing in the wrong direction. Soothing is that, yep, you're feeling the guilt and the shame of that. Let's really, dig deep into that. Or you're feeling the rage of that. I was absolutely screaming at the top of my lungs, just, so frustrated, angry. How dare you, you fucking moron, or you fucking beast, you total bitch. What were you thinking? I can't believe you did that to me. I mean, it went in some deep with really blame, and accountability. They're all kind of the same thing at that moment. It's like, yes, you did that. Somebody out there, someone who really did do things, that were horrible. And yet, I wasn't going to be able to get to the resolution of that without looking at that person in my mind's eye, and saying, I can't believe you did that. That was so wrong. What the fuck, blah, blah, blah. And really putting it out there. And the resolution finally came after that honest explosion of, this is how the fuck I feel with this. This is the raw and the real of it. And I'm not going to affirm my way into feeling better about it, because if I could, my shit would already be there, So that not working for me? No, it's not. You got to get real about what's happening at this level now. You got real, a day ago, a week ago, a year ago, whatever it was, that we reviewed this last. However, we're here now, and not being able to move through that would prevent me from getting to the point of being able to say, and where do I send the fruit basket and the motherfucking thank you note? Because I'm not going to really be able to, not my situation specifically, I'm not going to really be able to sit around in any lofty position believing that I'm going to break a huge system without having to break a huge system. We can sometimes break huge systems by breaking tiny systems, and, sometimes we got to go in nut deep and go for a bigger chunk, and that was a big chunk. Like, no, if you really want to bring this whole karmic cycle to an end, and this generational theme of some bullshit and some slave contract stuff that is generations deep, if you really want to free the people, what people do you want to free? Is it only people that are like you? Is it only people that are on their journey? Well, how do people that aren't on their journey get the fuck out? If they want to, they certainly can. However, imprisoned minds are imprisoned minds, and they're the least likely. The deeper, the darker, and the dumber they are, and the more asleep they are, the less likely they are to be able to get themselves to a place of even understanding they need to get out of that shit. However, turn the fucking light on anyway, in a very broad way. And the way that you do that is to get in there and deal with all the deep, dark, nasty, that big, giant bundle of, I don't want to do this, is so painful, this is so horrible, that turns on a way bigger light when you don't try to run away from it, when you own that shit in terms of, I'm owning the fact that I'm munching on this psilocybin bar, and it could take me anywhere. It could take me to bliss. It could take me to fucking not bliss. I got the not bliss part, skipped right over the whole bliss thing, and went right to the dank and the dirty. But that's okay, because that's my journey. Is that if I say I'm here to bring healing for planet Earth and humanity's growth into new Earth understandings, if I say I'm down for that work, and that's what I want to want to, then it has to happen in the ways that I'm given to do that work. And the bigger a light that I can break out, bust out, and shine halogen motherfucker on some very dark stuff, be a lighthouse. Don't just be a little teeny tiny light. No. If you want to be doing what the level of work you say you want to be doing, or you want to be healing, then you have to start with, doing what has to be done in here that you're given to do. And all that stuff the other night, some of it was related to me, and a lot of it was related to the collective, not of all of humanity. If all of humanity is affected anytime anybody wakes up or turns on a light for even the briefest amount of time, it sheds the light and it travels. However, it was working for a whole timeline, like a whole generation or two or three or however many, whatever, a collective that I was a part of. There's no way that I can say, well, I don't want to do that. I don't have to do that. You came from within that system. You have to do that in order to break that system, or you're going to remain vicariously part of the system forever and ever, amen, until it is absolutely shut down, crushed, and removed and neutralized as that kind of system. The Megatron, whatever it is, the big giant monster thingy, it might reassemble once you break it into a bazillion infinite pieces. Once you break it down, it might reassemble. It will reassemble into smaller collectives. However, that whole system will not be anywhere as detrimental, anywhere as monstrous or monumental as it was before, because you put your light on that from a very powerful position. And when people are doing that level of work, they're tearing down those systems at whatever level they're doing, man. And if I'm going to take down the Death Star, okay, that's a biggie. However, it took Luke. You need to go to a very specific place and drop that shit right there. I look at it the same exact way, but it took out the entire Death Star. Now, it didn't take out darkness. Obviously, there were more movies. However, it took out that shit. It took out that shit, and that was a big, huge presence of evil and dark, right? And they had lots of wars before then, and they lost a lot of fighters and a whole lot of shit. So it's not like, Luke didn't have to lose something or detach from things like his parents, his whole planet, or whatever, his existence, whatever it was. It's not like he didn't have to, say bye to a whole bunch of stuff, his whole way of life, to become a Jedi. And suffer immensely. Of course he did. That's the nature of when you're living on the planet. Previously, we're changing that dynamic here, but coming into Earth experience, we understand at a soul level that this is not likely to be pretty every day of your life. If it was, yeah, we're not going to even promise you that. It's about transcending the darkness that is here. And as a light worker, then it's also about transcending the darkness that's within you, within your system that you came from, to break all that down. And then at whatever level of play that you can get your ass to take out as many Death Stars as you possibly can. There isn't just the one from the movie. There are Death Stars everywhere. There's systems in commerce. There's systems in sex. There's systems in communication. There's systems in manufacturing. I mean, every system, no matter whether it's emotional or physical or whatever, every single system that we have, education, religion, spirituality, every single system and dynamic has Death Stars polluting it somewhere. Otherwise, the planet would be at balance. And we're coming out of the age of Pisces, so obviously that tells me right off the top that, yeah, since we're moving into the age of Aquarius and that, different paradigm and the new way of living, then that means the old way of living was broken. Yeah, broken because it broke people. That's what it's designed to do, is turn people into sheeple and, just stay asleep and let me pat you on the head and continue to motor you around at whatever level you're willing to believe the story. Can a lizard scare you? Cool, then let's use that. Can a president scare you? Cool, then let's use that. Can sexual perversion scare you? Cool. Starvation, poverty, what scares you? Religious oppression? Okay, cool. Let's use that at whatever level the man is using it, And so however much we've been affected by that, that's how much I have to do anyway. I believe everybody. However, I'm not going to write anybody else's story for them. And I can't even imagine, I didn't grow up with religious oppression and, rank poverty exactly. I mean, majority of my life growing up was not. There was some period that I don't remember, that we were pretty lean, I guess. And so I mean, I didn't grow up in some of those harshest systems where religion was rammed down my throat, and I understood God and the devil to be some different shit than some people. It makes every time there's another layer of oppression put in, it makes that much harder for a person to break out of. And so I'm very grateful, much as I, hated the people I was screeching at, I'm very grateful that the busted ass system I came from, at least it wasn't that, or more awful than it was. It was already tragic, it was already wrong, and it was already wrong on many levels. However, it wasn't that, and it wasn't that, and it wasn't that. I mean, it could have been a whole lot worse, and I'm not worrying about how much whole lot better it could have been, because how much better could it have been? Everywhere I looked was broken. The earth was in a 50 years ago, 55 years ago, the earth was a very different place socially, emotionally, etc. So we've come a long way. How much better could it have been? Well, it could have been logistically better. However, it was still going to be emotionally lean, because that's where that shit was. And so we come forward, but being able to look at that and say, wow, there are people who, in order to have even a sliver of a chance, they're going to need some help with light. That, hey, I know your light's only DB, then let me see if I can shed some with you, to help you, or at least shed some on you, that you can look and see, yeah, there's your light, there it is, go on, and go tiger, go. Because people that come from those overlays of just tons and tons and tons of oppression, and they continue to allow themselves to be oppressed because they don't know any differently, you know, that's deep stuff that they're not likely to turn and change their mind anytime soon unless they see the value in doing that. And, combat fighters from the other side, they're the biggest bugaboos ever. They're the biggest monsters and dickheads to deal with. I understand it. I got a boatload I was dealing with myself. However, those are the ones that, from an energetic perspective, that's what I was dealing with is, oh, you're just the spearhead for every kind of dickhead that came before you. I mean, honestly, that's what that is that you're just the latest version of it. Whatever you represent in all your lifetimes, all your timelines, all your whatever the fuck you are, same as me. Every dickhead in me is whatever, that every single one of them, they're willing to go that deep and dirty in this lifetime, then that means they've got collective behind them that's equally as energetically challenged, low light and stuff. No matter what they look like out here, the deepest, darkest, dirtiest thing that a person has done defines the willingness that they will go to stay in their low vibe themselves. And it means that that's really where that resides, because you can't tell me that a person, I was up here in the high vibing and then I decided to go dirty. No, I was looking like I was up here in the high vibing, and I really was down here just making shit look like this, because I'm a really good illusionist. Illusionist. A magician actually does shit like magical. An illusionist just actually makes shit look like it's disappearing, Copperfield style. And so that means that those people, those very dark and sinister people that make low vibing choices, hateful, cruel, mean, horrible, thoughtless, thinkless, funkless, thoughtless, careless. They're not quite as careless or as thoughtless. They're just, it's easy because it's right there. That's a decision that they're making on some level everywhere. It's just that when they get triggered enough, that, oh, I'm gonna have to bring out the big guns of my nasty. Yeah, I've always been, residing here, no matter what it looks like. However, now that I'm pissed and triggered, which is what the Age of Aquarius does when we're pulling out of Age of Pisces, then I'm willing to go there with it. I didn't have to go that far before, but now since you're pissing me off and forcing my hand, I'm going to have to really get nasty and, do what I can to eliminate you as a threat to my position. And that's exactly, if that's what a person's willing to do, if they're deep and dark and dirty, that I've never seen it before, and suddenly, oh my God, oh, look back and review, and you've seen that before. You just never challenged it that heavily before. That's what the truth is. However, it's not that it wasn't latent and wasn't there. It's that if you've never had a reason to question it, challenge it, or ask it to change for realsy, or threaten it in some way, and I mean threaten it by, I see, yeah, I see you. Are you sure? Yeah, even looking and being in the presence of our own light and observing something through that lens, that's enough of a challenge for some people, especially those deep, dark, dirty ones that like to play in very dark places and control and manipulate, and they're fueled by anger and bitterness and revenge and victimization, and I have to get mine, that challenge, that's enough of a challenge, which is why, separating out from it caused so many horrible behaviors. But it wasn't that those horrible behaviors weren't already living there. They were. It's just I didn't ever have to work very hard. I think some of these people were probably challenged by their own behavior. They were probably shaken or possibly shocked a little bit by their own behavior. However, they probably weren't shocked by their level of hatred, or their level of, probably didn't even observe it as that. They probably were very shocked by their behavior, but quickly were able to say, well, it's because she did this or she did that. No matter how illogical and stupid, that no, laying hands on somebody, or making illegal moves, literally illegal felonious moves, is that no, there is no justification for that. I don't care what another person has done. There is no justification, but that's where darkness allows us to start making those rationalizations and, justifying behavior because, well, she did this, I had to. No, that's not actually how that works. But so looking at all of that and knowing that you're not going to break that tiny little system. That's not a tiny little system. You break a conversation. That's a tiny system. You cut that shit, cut the conversation, and crush that little system. However, it's connected to a much bigger Death Star. So even if you take out 25 stormtroopers or some shit, you still have Darth Vader somewhere to go and eliminate, in the ethers. I'm not talking about real people. I'm talking about, in those experiences with the psilocybin the other night, that, that's about, looking at it from a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different planes of understanding, that conversations where small systems were breaking, or actions where even larger systems, and then just go in and with the Death Star and know that this is about exploding the consciousness within me to allow the light to shine, and that is actually what breaks those systems apart. It's not me wishing hate or ill or anything nasty on other people. Of course, my mouth screaming, I hate you, you fucker, all of that. That's a temporary thing, and it has a lot of negative association with it. However, get to the raw and real if that's how you really feel, because how else do you think it's going to heal? Unless you admit that you feel that, you can't shed any light on it until you're willing to admit what you're shedding light on. That is shedding light, that to even acknowledge that, yeah, I got some rage here. Cool, then let's talk about it and go to school about how we're going to fix this. And that is what that was for me, was that I need to shed a whole lot of light on how absolutely devastated I have been, and get to the real raw emotion, not just the cerebral emotion of, well, that wasn't right, crying about the victimization and the terrible stuff.